Welcome to the Tonya Hofmann's Wow TV show. And as always, I have an incredibly wow guest star, Mr. Sean Romero. Hey, Sean, how are you?
Hey, what's up, Tonya? How you doing?
Fabulous. So we're so excited to have him on today. He is going to be covering all kinds of information that you've never heard before about leadership. And so before we get to that, remember, we want you to be a trainer on Wowdable phone app. It is here. It is exciting. It's about really teaching the world in small little increments and making you passive income. So if you're like passive income and you want to go and change the world, then go to wowdable.com, WOWDIBLE.com. So it's wow and incredible together so that people go, wow, that was incredible. That was Wowdable. All righty, Sean. So tell us a little bit about when you say leadership. I know you have a little bit of a different take on it. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm a veteran of the Air Force of 17 and a half years, and I'm also a John Maxwell certified coach. So I have a lot of experience in the leadership area, when I was an F-16 crew chief and flight engineer, moving aircraft around different parts of the world, doing, training, airmen and things of that nature. And then seeing it from the different side, from the business side of the house, especially with John Maxwell and stuff, leadership is very dynamic. It's a constant in fluctuation, dynamic. And people sit there and like to say, well, especially nowadays, people like to say, this is my truth. And they conflate that with like reality. And then that's completely two totally different things. There is only but one truth. You have your truth. But then the leadership makes up to not only because you're as an influencer, and that's what really leadership is. It's influence, nothing more, nothing less. And how you decide to influence others, that's up to you. You can decide to influence them in a positive way, or you can go into a negative route. And sometimes you may not even understand that negative route because you don't understand the truth of the situation and the actual facts that rely on that situation. So you have to have that faith in yourself, but also faith in the greater picture, and faith, whether it's in God, whether it's in your business, whether it's in your people, especially in your people. That way you can create a different reality that you're living now. I mean, listen, we live in the greatest country in the world, and you can be whatever you want, wherever. It doesn't matter. If your aspirations is to be the president of the United States or a CEO of a company, or to, go to be an astronaut with NASA, you can do that. But the fact is that if you have that, you have to have those components to create that reality. So if you're sitting there wanting to be an influencer, what is the truth in that? Where's your truth lie in that? Where are your facts that you're building onto creating your faith to build up yourself, but not only yourself, but to inspire others? And you have to, with that, when you want to be an influencer, you have to have personal integrity. With that personal integrity, you want to create a culture. And once you create that culture, then you can inspire other people to be not only yourself, be a greater influencer, but they can go out and influence others. So with that whole circle of there, once you have all those components, then you could really, truly not only change the world, but change the reality that you're living in. Because some people just, you go from having, nothing to having everything. But at the same time, that everything may not mean anything if there isn't any true influence, if you're changing other lives.
Yes, I love it. Love all of that. And I think a lot of times too is people, they think that they want to be part of a particular influencer's group, right? They're part of that community, and they're so impressed with that person instead of looking at what does that community fit you? Because if you start off in the wrong influencer community, then suddenly you're like, wait a moment, why do I not like these people?
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's like, being in the military, you're part of a greater picture. You're that cog in the machine. You have your mission. You go out there and you're defending our nation. You get your orders and you go out there and you do the job. But after a while, sometimes you may not even like the unit that you're in. You don't like the mission that they're in. or you may not like the people that have been appointed above you, that who are your leaders, your officers and your NCOs. So you go and say, hey, you know what, this isn't me. This isn't what I want to do. This isn't what God is calling me to do. And so you take yourself out of that equation, whether it's in that negative equation, you take what you've learned and then you take it to your next unit, or you take it to your next endeavor, whether it's you get out of the military altogether and you start your own business, or you go work for someone else. But you take those facts that you learned and you create a greater faith, because you're going in there and you say, hey, I know what I did and I can do it better, outside. And perfect example. And again, this is my own personal experience. When I got out of the military, for 14 and a half years, I was a mechanic on F-16 fighter jets. So I was the guy that literally ripped apart the jet, put it all back together, did all the operations checks before I gave it back to the pilot. And I was the guy on the ground when the pilot was getting in it and launching them out, recovering. That was me. That was my job. And then for 3 years, I flew for the Air Force as a flight engineer on the KC-10 tankers. I have 630 flight hours under my belt. And then when I got out, I went into the civilian sector, and I was working in the civilian sector. And I said, wow, I saw the differences, and I was very apprehensive, and I was a little bit nervous because I was like, well, I only knew what I knew in the military. But when I took that stuff into the civilian sector, it was a total different ballgame. And I saw myself on a higher level than most people. And so I took that, translated that into my leadership training, my coaching, so that way I can teach other people and show them the differences. Now I have the compare and contrast from being in a governmental aspect to being in a private aspect, and putting it all together and showing people, hey, this is what you have to do in order to succeed. This is what you need to, because everyone has a calling. Everyone has a calling, no matter what it is. Everyone has a calling, and it's our God-given duty. It's our duty to be able to fulfill that calling, no matter what it is. And so, and that's what I'm here to do. And that's what I'm here to show other people, and especially men.
And I think too, when I see a lot of times, you're approached by an opportunity and you're like, oh my gosh, either you're like, it has no connection, nothing kind of flurries, but then the ones that are like, oh, I'm a little scared about this opportunity. A lot of times that's just your faith, right? Going,
Yep.
You need to, take this big challenge and do something you haven't done before.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It gets, you're nervous, and that's just being human. That really is just being human. You're sitting there and you're like, am I able to do this? I did it before. What am I supposed to do? I have to learn something new. Am I going to start from the bottom? Where is this going to lead me? Am I going to like it? There's so many different things, but that's the whole point of faith. You believe. Faith, the definition of faith is the belief in the unseen. And if you know that you're a true leader, and if you know that you can do more than what you are right now, you got to take that faith, and you have to take that leap of faith, knowing that whatever this opportunity comes, and if it's right for you and it's right for you, that you're going to succeed. There are growing pains. You're always going to have growing pains, and you're going to learn. And I think that's where most people get caught up, is that when they're going through those growing pains, they feel like, oh my gosh, I should already know this by now. And so now I'm failing, and that's not the case.
Well, don't you think too that we think that other people are the leaders when really we all are leading? A lot of times we just are leading nothing. You're like, okay, I'm leading my dog someplace, but even our friends and our acquaintances and people we work with that, if you've got a job someplace, we all lead. Are you really stepping into that moment? Are you really focusing on helping others move forward, or are you not taking on that role?
Well, that's where your belief and understanding that you're an influencer no matter what. I mean, the old saying goes that, smile to everybody, because you don't know how you're going to influence their day, and you don't know how that smile is going to change somebody's life forever. They might have been on the brink where they felt they're so despondent, where they're like, they don't feel worthless. They feel worthless, and they feel, hey, you know what? I'm just going to end it all. But you could sit there and smile and say, hey, have a great day, and you can make them feel special. So what you do is going to influence others, and how you decide to influence others, that's also on you. So you're always leading, but when you're in a different position, when you get into different positions of leadership, whether it's business, whether it's your family, whether it's your own personal business, you have to understand that there is a growth curve. When you become a new parent, it's like, hey, does this thing come with a manual?
Right. Wouldn't that be helpful?
Yeah, I mean, I've got kids myself, so it's the same thing. I was like, all right, so what do I do? Even though I came from a big family, it's like, all right, I had some of that experience, but there's a growth curve. There's a learning curve. And so that's where people get hung up on that growth curve, because life is not a straight line or it's a straight incline. It's this big wave. And, you're going to have your low points and you're going to have your really, really high points. But it depends on what you do during those high points is going to get you through that low point. So, with that influence that you're trying to create, understand that influence comes from your faith, and faith in knowing that it's going to be okay, that what you're learning and what you're going through is not happening to you, it's happening for you. Nothing that happens is not happening to you, it's happening for you. And if you think it's happening to you, that's the wrong mindset, and you're not going to get out of the situation that you're in.
Totally.
It's okay to feel a certain way during that time, but it's not okay to stay in that place, because you're never going to grow. It's like, heard, like, I'm not a marine biologist or anything, but, and I don't eat lobsters at all, but, I've just told that, lobsters, when they are growing out of their shell, they escape their shell. Now they're all soft because they become uncomfortable and they have to break that shell. It's the same thing in life. You have to break that shell. And so that way, and you're going to be exposed, but you've got to find a way as soon as everything hardens, but that's your experience. You find that little soft spot where you can go and grow, and then you can go out and conquer whatever it is you need to do.
Love it. Yeah. And I think too, it's about connecting the right people to you, so you're not trying to do it alone. And I think that's the problem for most people. Are like, I am Superwoman, I am Superman, I can do things, I can make everything happen. And I'm like, no, have a team, have a support team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was in the military, you learn that, and you watch movies like, and they're all awesome. I'm a huge Marvel fan. So, you see the Avengers and all this other stuff. But what you don't take away, you see the different, characters. But what you sometimes lose watching in that, when you see your specific famous character, that your favorite character or whatever, you think that they're the ones that do. No, it's always a team effort.
Yep.
And I learned that, especially in the military, is that it's not just you, it is a team effort. I mean, you may have more experience or more skills than everyone else or other people that are around you, but it is your duty to pass on that knowledge to everyone else, so that way they can become a greater part of the team. And you're teaching that team, and you're teaching something that's going to create that synergy and almost become symbiotic. And that way you can go out and take care of business, really.
Yeah, love it. And I know you have an incredible program that you want to tell people about. What is it all about?
Yes. So I just created a program. It's called God's Not Done With You Yet. I'm a Christian. I make no bones about that. That's how I live my life. That's my faith, and by far I'm a sinner, and I am not, someone that's perfect at all by any means. But I've been through a lot. I've been through divorce. I've been through a loss. Once I got out of the military, literally 6 days later, I was signing my divorce papers, and I became instantly a single dad of 4. I had to go through PTSD, anxiety, depression, all those different things. And going through, that loss of income and having to go through rock bottom, where I've literally been within an hour of being evicted out of my home and being homeless. So, I've been extremely blessed by the Lord. And so this is my way of giving back. And it's based on the theories that I've learned in the military, and also John Maxwell training and all my life experiences. And it's based on John Boyd's theory on how our fighter pilots are trained to think. In combat, it's called the OODA loop. It stands for observe, orient, decide, and act. And just to kind of give you a synopsis of that, you observe where you're at, and then so that way you can orient yourself in a better position to make the best decision possible, so you can go and act on that. And then the loop continues to change. You start going in. So your decision making becomes quicker and everything becomes tighter. So it becomes like a funnel almost, and a filter. So I developed my own method. It's called the IICI, the ICI method. And it stands for influence, integrity, culture, and inspiration. And so we all want to be an influencer. Look at how social media has exploded, and we've got people who are making millions of dollars just being an influencer. But what are they really influencing? So we really, again, to serve that purpose and to really funnel yourself into where to decide, like I said in the beginning, you either decide to be a positive influence or you're going to be that negative influence. It's up to you. So when you decide that influence on the top, then that's basically your information gathering phase. And then you're going to go into the integrity phase, because the integrity phase is really what's going to create you. Because without that personal integrity, and nobody's going to want to follow you. Nobody's going to want to be influenced by you. People are naturally drawn to people who are not only just leaders, but to be a leader, they have that integrity, that they're going to do the right thing even when nobody else is looking. And even when they're wrong, they own it and they say, I did this wrong. How can we correct it? How can we fix it to help other people learn? Building that integrity, that personal integrity, then you're going to go on to building a culture. Like when you build a culture, and basically, what is a culture? It's how we do things. It's what we do. It's how we live our life. And we always, when we go to work and we hit our 9 to 5, listen, people don't quit jobs for money. They don't do it. They quit jobs because of the culture and the bosses, because it's either toxic, they don't like their coworkers, or their boss is just negative, or the company itself, their mission statement is just negative. And so that's why they quit. They don't quit it because of money. You see a lot of times where people quit jobs and take jobs that pay less, and they're a lot happier because of that culture that's being developed and cultivated in there. So you learn how to build your own culture and build a positive culture, so that way you can inspire others. So you're going to go on to the next phase. You're going to inspire others. And as you're inspiring others to be better than themselves, to be greater than you, then you can go ahead and build you more of your influence and how to teach others how to be a greater influence of others. And it just stays in that loop. And so that way you're constantly in that loop and teaching other people. So I've developed a course. It's got 6 modules, six weeks. And before you even get into the Icky method, the 2 first weeks are just about being able to strip yourself of the non-essential stuff that you don't need, and basically surrendering yourself to not only to God, but surrendering yourself to yourself and to your own faith. And to be able to break that down and say, hey, you know what, God, I surrender to you. My way wasn't working, so now I'm going to follow your way to what you want me to do and how you want me to influence other people in this world to be a positive influence. And so those first 2 weeks, we're going to be concentrating on that, and then we go into the method on each phase, on each week. And at the end of the course, you're going to be able to be a huge influencer. You're going to be able to influence people in a positive way, but even if not only in business, but in your community, but in your own families, which is very, very important right now, because even with everything, if you look at politics and everything, we're so divisive and we're not listening to each other. We're not learning how to converse and having that respect for each other. This course is going to teach you how to break away from that and to understand how to respect not only other people, but respect other cultures, but to able to build about that influence and say, hey, let's talk. And so that way, that's the biggest way you can influence anyone else.
Love it. So how do they get a hold of this fabulous course?
So you guys go ahead and email me directly at Sean@faithfullyled.com. That's Sean, SEAN, @faithfullyled.com. Or you can message me directly on Facebook or Instagram. And if you say that you saw it here first for PSA, you guys get 20% off on the course. So automatically right off the top.
Awesome. So get in touch with Sean. You want to just get to know this incredible guy and build the influence that you need to do to make everything happy and make everything move faster in your life with the right perspective, with the right people, with the right community. So thank you so much, Sean, for being on today. And everyone, make sure you grab Sean's. So it's Sean at faithfullyled.com. Perfect. Faithfullyled.com. Sean, SEAN. All righty, everybody. We will see you next time. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, everybody. See you.
Thanks, Tonya. Thanks, everybody.